it's just an example. Purdue losing to Fresno State is okay. We can still win the Big Ten West. But me,
Really, Napier gets fired. I'm just kidding.
hey, really the best time of the year. I will be seated watching the Red Zone for 7 hours on Sunday. What's going on, everyone? We're back with another episode of Backyard Banter. Johnny, James, Tanner, and we had an extended little holiday. We were kind of talking about before we got on. We all just took vacations opposite of each other. So that kind of led to like a 2.5 month break from this, which is fine because no one cares about July baseball. I mean, outside of us who watch every game. But we're back in time for the best time of the year, I think. It's college football time starting tomorrow. But first, guys, before we get into this, how you guys doing?
Good. Fantastic.
Yeah, fantastic. No complaints. It's I think it's showing signs of fall weather. I mean, it's starting to get a little cooler.
Maybe where you are.
I don't know. I mean, it's still like 85 out, but it was just like 95 the last couple of days. So I'm kind of hoping we're itching towards that fall, which means football's here. And I mean, it is our favorite time of the year. I already know it. So
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. It was a high of like 75 today with low humidity. Sun was out. Students were everywhere on campus. I heard the Purdue marching band getting prepped for next Saturday, so I'm ready for football season. I'm
going to West Lafayette. I've never wanted to go there more than I do right now. 75 as a high.
I don't think it's been 75 in Florida for like 6 months. To be completely
it
honest.
hadn't been below like 90 for like a couple weeks, so we deserve it.
I know the Chicago Midwest area got a big heat wave too, but we're gonna break down. We're gonna give you guys our entire playoff predictions and 100% correct for your money back. We're gonna talk about baseball because the postseason race is heating up, even though both of our teams suck, specifically the Rays. And yeah, it's just good to be back talking some ball. So no NFL this week, just because we still got 2.5 weeks until week 1 for the NFL. But college starts tomorrow, and I don't know if you guys fully accept week 0. We do have kind of a banger of a game in the Big 12 to start it off, but we're just going to get right into it. So we're going to preview the Big 10 and SEC because those are the best two conferences, and no other team really matters outside of Clemson and maybe Miami out of those groups. And then we'll give you guys our full playoff prediction 1 through 12. So you guys probably know there's no more automatic buys now for the conference champions. So we just get to rank them 1 through 12 like normal people would, believe it or not. So let's start with the Big 10. Tanner, that's where your Purdue Boilermakers reside. I saw you guys just named a starting quarterback, which is super exciting. Oh, apparently incredibly exciting.
He's so excited.
Barry Odom's got the boys rolling apparently. So Tanner, do you give a quick little 30 seconds about Purdue because that's all they deserve? And then you can say who's going to win the Big Ten, who they're going to beat, and who a sleeper is.
Yeah, the Purdue Boilermakers have 85 new players on the roster and a whole new coaching staff. So I don't know what to expect. Like, I literally could not pinpoint a win total and be like, this is what I expect, which is kind of exciting because it's like nobody knows what they're going to be. If I had to guess, they'll be closer to bad than they would good. Just year 1 of a rebuild. But I honestly
like they had last year.
They went 1-11 last year.
They were like one of the worst teams ever.
My bad. I overshot them.
They did play 6 playoff teams a year ago, so let's cut them some slack. But no, they were atrocious last year. Barry Odom, I think, is going to be a good coach. I think he's going to turn the program around. I don't have confidence in it being this year, but you never know. Like I said, I don't even know what to expect. Ryan Brown, I think, can be good, but I'm not going to bank on it. But I guess their schedule is light. So at least the first 2 months, other than at Notre Dame, they have some winnable games. USC at home, I don't think is crazy. Illinois is a rivalry game at home, so we'll see. If they can get out of October with 4 or 5 wins, they might be bowl eligible. But again, I have no clue what they're going to be like. So I wish I had something.
What's and I want to stay on Purdue before you move on. What's turning it around in your eyes for Purdue? Is that being like a consistent high win team? Is that like being the 10-11 seed in the playoffs? Was that going to Indy every other year? So like, what's turning it around in your guys' eyes?
Turning it around for Purdue football would be winning more than 6 games a season, kind of like they were with Jeff Brom.
Yeah.
Purdue's probably never going to be a powerhouse in football. We know that. We know we're probably never going to make the college football playoff, maybe once in a blue moon if it ever happens. But Turning around and just 500, get to a bowl game, maybe sneak 8-9 wins like they did under Braum. I just hope for four. Like if they win 4 games this year, I would be thrilled. But if they win a bowl game, I mean, I'll be doing. I might streak the neighborhood if they go to a bowl game.
I'll be in West Lafayette that day. That's all I know. So, Tanner, who's winning the Big Ten, man?
I have Ohio State meeting Penn State in the Big Ten championship. I had Ohio State beating Penn State at home in the regular season. So I have Penn State beating them in the Big Ten championship. I think
James,
Drew
James. I know James couldn't even fathom that even being a thing.
Drew Aller is maybe the best quarterback in the country. He's a really good quarterback. They bring back a lot from a team that was minutes away from a national title game. So Penn State, I think. I mean, it's them or Ohio State as the favorites. I think Oregon has a favorable schedule as well. A little bit of sleeper in a Big Ten. I'm going to go Washington. They have a light schedule.
I love that.
They bring in former Purdue head coach to be their D coordinator, and when he was at Illinois, Ryan Walters, Illinois had a great defense. So I'm going to go with Washington, light schedule, new D coordinator, and they always have talent in Washington for some reason. So
Washington has probably the most underrated home field advantage in the country. I will say that. And I think Ohio State, Tanner, you'd be able to clarify this for me. They go to Washington semi-early in the season, if I'm not mistaken.
They do. Let me pull up Washington's schedule real quick, actually, because I have them beating Oregon in the final week to get to 9-3, the Washington Huskies. But hold on, real quick. I know they play Oregon at home. Gosh, my computer doesn't want to work. Oh, well. Oh, yeah, they do get Ohio State week 5 at home. I do have Ohio State winning that, though.
Yeah.
I actually have Ohio State's only loss in the regular season being to Texas week 1 at home.
Yeah, I'm upset and ready, and you ready for this, Johnny? I'm upset with Tanner for the simple fact is I had the exact same thing, and I thought you guys were going to be shocked that I was going to hop on the.
I'm a little shocked.
Hop on the Nittany Lions. Yeah, I mean, you guys know it. You guys can go back. You would have thought that me and James Franklin were beefing. Like it was a hatred towards Penn State that really had no merit to it. Just that I didn't believe in them. But I kind of agree with what Tanner said. Like you return so much, you return your quarterback, and James Franklin kind of did, in a way, show that he can win a big game. So there's no reason I should hate on Penn State. I really believe in Drew Aller. I think he's one of the better quarterbacks in the country, especially in the Big Ten. Ohio State, I mean, they got a guy named Jeremiah Smith who's like the face of college football. So like that's incredible too. Like the Big Ten is going to be, I thought it was very good last year. And I think this year it's going to be incredible. I really do. I think there's a lot of good teams. Washington's a team that didn't even frankly come to mind for me when I was thinking sleepers, but yeah, they are. When I think of sleeper, I'm going to go Nebraska. I got Illinois in my. We'll get to it, but I do have Illinois making the playoff in my top 12. But if I got to go sleeper and not in my playoff currently, I'm going to go Nebraska. I mean, you look at Matt Rule. For everywhere he's been, it's always been a third-year thing for him, and here he is, year 3 at Nebraska with a quarterback who's got the hype for sure. I mean, a Nebraska quarterback who's playing like Patrick Mahomes and looks like him, right? And he shows some inexperience. Like last year, he looked young in a lot of big games and a lot of big moments. But I think that's the beauty about college football is that these guys come back. And they come back more mature. And they come back with more experience. And with Matt Rule, why not? So I'm pretty high in Nebraska. I really am. But I do think Penn State's going to win the Big Ten. And I do believe in the Nittany Lions this year, believe it or not. So.
Yeah, no, I love it. So I love that you guys are both higher on Penn State. And I'm not low on Penn State by any means, but I will play devil's advocate here. Penn State's schedule last year was not good. They lost to anyone that was good. The big thing, like the top tier of the Big Ten has always rivaled the SEC. Where the SEC has always separated from the Big Ten is like Texas A&M, you could argue, is the 9th best team in the SEC this year. They would be the 4th best in the Big Ten this year.
Yeah.
Depending on how you view Michigan and Washington and all that. But, that's always been the argument. So Penn State went through that kind of softer schedule, got by, and they won some big road games. I'm not going to take everything away from Penn State. They got in the playoff. They played SMU at home. SMU, realistically, is not really a top 20 team. But look, they played in the ACC. They had a great year. They almost beat Clemson in the ACC tournament. Shout out Red Ashley. They had a great year. Then they go and they beat Boise in the quarterfinal. Again, Ashton Genty. I love Boise State's coach, one of my favorite coaches in college football. Ashton Genty had a once-in-a-generation type season. But Penn State preyed on a weak Big Ten. They lost to Ohio State at home after scoring a defensive touchdown and leading that game by 2 scores before Ohio State even scored. They went to the Big Ten tournament by chance because Ohio State sold. They lost to Oregon, in which was a great game. And then they beat 2 of the softest teams in the playoff and then lost to Notre Dame in a game. Like, Notre Dame was good last year. That Notre Dame team is not going to be remembered as some great team, you know? And the thing I'm looking at with Penn State is, James, how many catches did wide receivers have against Notre Dame in the semifinal? The answer is 0.
Yeah, not many. I was going to say not many.
That is the biggest thing.
Yeah, you lose the tight end, so it's like
you lose Tyler Warren, but they seem confident in that position. But they went out to the portal and got some receivers. So that's my Penn State spiel. I'm gonna pick Oregon to win the Big Ten. I'm high on Dante Moore, man. We're gonna really see that this guy's a 5-star guy. Went and started his first year, decided to transfer to Oregon, knowing that he was gonna sit behind Dylan Gabriel last year. Now we heard stuff last year that he was popping during practice. Now it's like he basically gets to drive a Ferrari, right? Because that's what Oregon has kind of built themselves up to. I do have questions. Receiver Evan Stewart is hurt right now. Maybe he comes back during the season. That's some serious stuff there. They just dismissed a 5-star freshman, or I don't know if he was a freshman, a former 5-star receiver a few weeks ago. So there are some concerns, but they go to Penn State, and it's one of the best weekends of college football because we get Alabama and Georgia that same day. So I'll go Oregon over Ohio State in the Big Ten championship. So I'll stay away from Penn State a little bit. Now, I like Penn State still going to be in my playoff, for example, but we'll see. My sleeper is going to be USC. USC's defense 2 years ago was one of the worst they're like Miami last year, one of the worst ever. Not ever, that's dramatic, but very bad. Last year, Miller Moss was there. They took some steps forward. They had Notre Dame on the ropes for a little bit. They had Michigan on the ropes in the Big House for a little bit. This year, Lincoln Riley in a do or die year, I like USC to improve a little bit. So we have Penn State. James, you have Penn State.
Yep.
And then I'll take Oregon. So again, except I would say the line for Big Ten teams in the playoff was at 3.5, and it's going to be interesting to see if anyone besides the big 3 of Ohio State, Penn State, and Oregon can sneak in, kind of like Indiana did last year.
I'll take the over on that.
I would lean over too. You think under?
Indiana likes the under. I like it.
We'll see. Because it depends what the SEC does. I think the depth in the SEC is unreal this year.
Oh, it's gross.
It depends. Are they going to reward a 9-3 SEC team? Like if Florida goes 9-3, for example, they should be in the playoffs.
I think we already know this answer. Unfortunately, I think we know the answer that the 10-2 Big Ten team is going to get the jump over a 9. I mean, this all depends on who they lost to and who they beat. Yeah. Obviously.
But let's say, for example, if Florida goes 9-3. They lose on the road in Death Valley. They lose to Texas at home, and they lose to Georgia in a neutral site. But that means they win at Ole Miss, win at Miami. They win at home against Tennessee, at home against Florida State. Like, are you keeping them out over a 10-2 Illinois that played the 72nd hardest strength of schedule?
Probably.
We don't know. It's going to be an interesting
argument. Come on.
INA, come on. But it's gonna be interesting because the SEC just came out with their new format. They're gonna play 9 conference games, and then they're forcing every team to play a Power 4 team outside of the 9 conference games. So I love it for
them.
The sport.
Good for them.
Yeah, I love it for the sport. We're still gonna get a Citadel week. Don't worry, everyone. Florida plays LIU week 1. Powerhouse. So
never in my life did I think Bama would call Purdue asking for a home and home in the non-con. You want a light opponent as Alabama.
Tanner, when I say that was the first comment on every video, I was like, just hit up Purdue.
Yeah, I mean, it's true. It's true.
But we'll see. Anyway, Tanner, who's winning the SEC?
In the SEC, I've got Georgia versus Texas in the championship game. I know that's boring. I have Georgia winning the SEC championship. I can't – something about it. I know it's year 2 for Texas and the SEC. I still can't pick them to win the SEC. It's not their conference. It's just not. And I think Georgia – I mean, the SEC, when I think SEC championship game, I think Georgia and Atlanta winning that game. I do think those are the 2 best teams in the SEC this year. But yeah, I've got Georgia over Texas, 2-loss Georgia beating Texas, a 1-loss Texas in the SEC championship game. For a sleeper in the SEC, I like Florida. I don't know if they're necessarily a sleeper, but I'm going to go with Auburn. I love this wide receiver out of Auburn. What's his name? Cam Coleman. Dude, he is a stud. I think Auburn played much better football towards the end of the season last year. They were young. They have a head coach who has done it before in the SEC, and Hugh Freeze. So I'm going to take Auburn. I personally have them at 9-3. I know that's kind of crazy, but I don't have that bad of a schedule, and I have them winning the Iron Bowl. Bama.
James Keck.
Oh, I'm sorry. Tanner kind of lagged out. I'm upset. I don't know if Tanner was like secretly on my phone watching me make these predictions. So whatever. I do have Georgia, Texas in the championship. I agree. I have Georgia. I think the addition of Josh McCray from Illinois, they get the running back. I mean, again, it's like experienced quarterbacks battling off in these big conferences, which I think is amazing for the sport. So like, obviously Texas is the talk, right? You got Arch Manning, he's the talk of the quarterback position, but like Gunner's solid. Like I like Georgia. Sleeper, I was going to go Auburn once again, but I don't know. Maybe we'll go like Mizzou. I think Mizzou could be a sleeper.
Easy
Again,
schedule, man. They got an easy schedule.
When you look at the SEC, it's like you look at a team, for example, before we film this, you're going through all your prediction different websites, different people making predictions, and it's like they have a more favorable draw schedule-wise. And when you look at an SEC schedule, a more favorable draw still includes Bama and Georgia, but it might not include Bama, Georgia, Texas, Florida, you know what I mean? So it's like the depth, like Johnny has said since I've known him, like the depth in the SEC is unbelievable. Frankly, like as a Notre Dame fan, I even look at the game against Arkansas and I'm like, okay, should Notre Dame potentially win that football
lucky
game?
That game's at noon. Don't let Woo Pig Suey get wrapped.
Right, but like, should Notre Dame beat Arkansas? Yeah, they should. But like Arkansas is a good football team. So it's like, but Arkansas is not going to be in many discussions when you talk about SEC football. So it's like it's pretty impressive what they've done year after year. And I grew up a Big Ten guy, obviously through and through, but it's like at some point you can't disregard what the SEC has built and established, and it's so impressive. So the fact that the conference is now saying, yeah, Alabama, you can't play the Citadel and LIU, you got to go play Purdue. That's cool. Like that is cool. It's great for the sport, and frankly, I don't think they had to do it. So it's great.
You're 100% right, and it's fantastic for the sport. I am lower on Georgia than you guys, and it speaks to what Kirby's done at Georgia. That just blind faces. We've seen Gunnar Stockton play a game and a quarter, or I guess a game and a half, and say, oh yeah, he can lead Georgia to a national championship again, no doubt. Georgia did not run the ball great last year. That was one of their biggest kryptonites. But I will say what I do love about Georgia, they went and revamped that wide receiver room. Zachariah Branch, USC, he's in Athens now. Last time I checked, he's pretty good at the sport of football.
Great.
Georgia's going to have a good defense just with Kirby being there. But my SC championship is Texas and Alabama, and I have Texas over Alabama. We see this all the time, right? Texas lost in the playoff 2 years ago, lost in the playoff last year. Most of the time, these teams gradually beat their way up. Georgia had to do it, right? Georgia, they made the playoff 1 year. They couldn't beat Bama forever. Then they beat Oklahoma, but then lost to Bama again. And then finally, right, it was like step, and then you go. I think that's where Texas is at. They took their playoff lumps. They have the guy that I thought should have been starting at the second half of last year to now kind of take him. And I'm not even some huge Arch Manning guy. Like I think Arch Manning is going to be good to solid. I don't know if Arch Manning is going to be in New York for the Heisman ceremony or a first overall pick, but I'll go Texas as we have an alien up there, James. I'll go Texas over Alabama. Sleeper, I kind of already mentioned Texas A&M. South Carolina is a popular pick, but I'm not a huge believer in South Carolina. Florida's kind of in that same boat. Florida, and I'm a big Florida fan. Florida's going to have to prove it to me, to be completely honest. You find the first year in the Billy Napier era, you don't play either Utah or Miami in week one. You play LIU, then USF, and then get to go to Baton Rouge to go play LSU. If you're legit, go beat LSU, right? Don't go 0-2 between going at LSU and at Miami. and then home against Texas, and then at A&M. Like that's a brutal stretch. But to answer my sleeper pick, I will go Texas A&M. I love their running back room. I think they got multiple dudes that they can rely on. They have 3 running backs that could be running back ones on other teams. So I love Mike Elko. He's going to get that defense not figured out even better. Texas A&M was a game away from playing Atlanta last year. People kind of forget about that because Texas dog walked them in College Station. Yeah, so I say I'm low in Georgia. Like I still think Georgia's gonna make the playoff. Like they'll be a 7, 8, 9 seed or whatever. But I think that they'll have 2 losses again, like they did last year. And I just think Alabama and Texas, who Georgia both play, by the way, talk about brutal schedules. Georgia is right up there. It's just gonna take a little bit of a step back.
Yeah, no, I love it. I think you and I just have Alabama and Georgia flipped. Like I agree. Like I didn't mention Alabama, but they're in the playoff. Like they're still a great football team. So
for sure. Anyway, Tanner, run through your top 12. Let's talk playoff 1 through 12.
In my top 12, do you mind if I just show it?
Sure. Can you share your screen?
I do. Where do I do that? Where's that button
at the bottom?
Share. All right. Screen.
Oh yeah, just
here we go.
High level production here at Backyard.
Hey, first podcast back. We're gonna be fun.
There we go.
All right, so this is my playoff here. To kind of run through the seeding.
Oh, there it goes. All right, I'll go.
You guys hear me?
Yeah. You're good.
All right, so to run through the seeding here, I've got Penn State as the 1 Big Ten champ. I've got Georgia 2 SEC champ. Miami, who was undefeated before their ACC championship game, lost to Clemson, is the 3. I've got Texas as my 4. I technically had Notre Dame and Ohio State flip-flopped, but I didn't want a potential rematch of Ohio State, Texas, and Notre Dame, Miami in the quarters. And same with Clemson and K-State. I didn't want Clemson playing LSU again, and I think the committee would kind of take that into consideration. But I do have South Carolina, Texas, Georgia, LSU out of the SEC. I've got Penn State, Oregon, Ohio State out of the Big Ten. I have UNLV in there. To be honest, I didn't really care about the group of 5 team or whatever, but I like the way their schedule plays out. I think they'll beat Boise in the Mountain West. So UNLV is the 12. I've got Oregon in there as well with Kansas State, my Big 12 champion. But in my playoff bracket, I go Notre Dame over UNLV. I go South Carolina over Oregon, Ohio State over Clemson, LSU over K-State. Pretty chalk in the first round. And then I would take Texas over Notre Dame. I'd take Penn State over Carolina. Going to take Ohio State to beat Miami and LSU to beat Georgia. And I'm going to take LSU to beat Ohio State and Texas to beat Penn State. And I have Texas beating LSU in the national championship game. Arch Manning is going to be a college football national champion.
I love your little stuff that you have, T. I don't disagree with a lot of it. If South Carolina makes it, I'll be a little surprised. There's one of these SEC teams every year that's hyped up like this. And I guess I'm just lower on South Carolina and Lenore Sellers, to be completely honest with you. But, in that group, one of South Carolina, LSU, Florida, Texas A&M is going to get in. Maybe 2, depending on what kind of year they have. So, I think SEC might get 5 teams in, if I'm being completely honest. It depends on the Big Ten's depth.
It was very hard for me to pick the SEC, like the last SEC team in. Florida, unfortunately, is the first team out of my playoff, and Bama was right behind them. So, I think the SEC probably gets 4 teams. It's going to be tough to get 5, because the Big Ten's getting 3, and honestly, I don't see the Big Ten getting more than 3. To be honest,
I agree. And then so you go SEC gets 4, Big Ten gets 3. That's 7. Notre Dame is 8. You got to have your ACC, Clemson 9, Big 12, whatever you want to put is 10. It leaves that final spot to a second ACC team, the 4th Big Ten team, or the 5th SEC team.
Yeah.
So it's going to be really interesting how that shakes out. What do you have, James?
Well, I tell you what, I'm not going to put up a cool graphic where that predicts my top 12. So I'll just read them like a loser. 12, I got Boise State. I understand they lose the greatest player to ever roll through Boise State, right? But I'm confident. I'm confident in what they built over there. I'm always confident in the blue turf. I feel like Tanner's going to say something about.
Don't forget about Kellen Moore now.
Yeah,
right?
I was about to say.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. But they go out, they hit the portal, they get Jaden Virgin, Notre Dame corner. Obviously, good. I mean, to think when I didn't watch a ton of Boise State football last year, but when I did watch it, it was like, okay, clearly the defense is still not Power 5, capabilities. So go out and get those dudes. So I'm confident in Boise State. Obviously, they play Notre Dame. So it's a tough game for them, but it's also a tough game for Notre Dame. So I have them at 12. I have Kansas State at 11. I think Avery Johnson's one of my favorite players to watch in college football. The long hair, he's just running around. I think he is very underrated. And in fact, I think he could be in a conversation potentially for Heisman. Obviously, that's maybe an interesting take. But I got Illinois at 10, like I said before, favorable schedule. They avoid Penn State. They avoid Oregon. They play Ohio State, but it's at home. So obviously, you got to go to Purdue. Tough game. But I got Illinois at 10. I got LSU at 9. A ton of wide receivers. They went out and hit that receiver portal hard. Obviously, returning quarterback, who I think is unbelievable. Tough start to the year. I really do believe that's going to be a great football game. Excited for that game against Clemson. At 8, I have Alabama, as mentioned before. I think Johnny and I might have Georgia and Alabama flipped. I have Bama at 8. I have Oregon at 7 because I do believe that Dante Moore is going to be a huge fill-in for Dylan Gabriel. You lose a stud quarterback, but you fill it in with a 5-star. And the demeanor of Dante Moore, like Johnny had mentioned, to say, I'm going to play, but I'm going to leave knowing I'm going to sit. Like that guy, I mean, he's a stud. So I'm excited to see what they can do out there. I got Notre Dame at 6. I had him at 5. I moved him to 6 because I have Boise State at 12. And again, I didn't know what the committee was going to do with a rematch kind of deal. So instead of having that layout, I put Notre Dame at 6. I think year after year, this is going to be my spiel of Notre Dame, by the way. Year after year, we hear about the Notre Dame schedule, and it's not tough. And I get it. Like, not playing in a conference, it can hurt Notre Dame in some years, but it can help in others. I think I told you guys last year when they did the playoff, the way they did it, I said it's going to hurt Notre Dame. But in fact, I think the committee's so Notre Dame favorable that they're going to make it to where it's not going to be an auto buy. Like it will be an auto buy, but not because you won the conference. It'll be because you're in the top 4 seed. And I said last year I thought Notre Dame was going to be the 5 seed because they couldn't be any higher. And what do you know? The committee 1 year later says anything can happen. So I'm high on Notre Dame. I think it's a hell of a schedule. I think everyone keeps circling Miami, A&M, USC, Boise, Arkansas. But I tell you what, a game that I'm nervous about because no one's talking about it, and I'm not going to talk too much about it. When we play Pitt, I'm nervous, okay? Watch out for Pitt. So I got Notre Dame at 6. I think they have the best running back in the country. I really do believe Jeremiah Love is the best running back in the country. They had a little quarterback battle, which I didn't see happening, but CJ Carr gets the job. I think he's the clear candidate and the clear choice. So excited to kind of watch. They went out and got a receiver who I think is going to, when you think Notre Dame, you think ground and pound, good defense. And I'm kind of excited to see maybe a different shift with a quarterback who can kind of throw it and a receiver who's had an impressive summer and early fall. So excited for Notre Dame. I have them at 6, Georgia at 5, and then we'll just roll through it. Ohio State at 4, Penn State at 3, Clemson at 2. I don't think we're talking about Clemson enough. Obviously, we didn't talk about the ACC, but why would I? For years, I've talked about Dabo doesn't hit the portal. Why can I trust in him? Well, he hits the portal, and now it's like, yeah, they're legitimate national championship like they can win a Natty, and it's pretty impressive. So I'm excited to see what they can do. And then I have Texas at 1.
Yeah, who's winning the Natty?
Oh shoot! I mean, if you're gonna put me on the spot, I'm gonna go Clemson. I really do believe in Clemson, and I believe I can't keep. It's like the James Franklin thing. I can't keep knocking it when they go out there and win. So I said he's got to do one thing, hit the portal, and he went out and did it. So I think they're gonna win a Natty.
No, I'm glad you gave Clemson some love because I was about to. I mean,
yeah.
Clemson is national championship good, for sure. But
sorry for these.
I'll just rattle.
Computer and she's got notifications on, and it's like blowing my mind. So,
well, Kyra, I mean, that's a divorceable offense from future.
Not there yet.
But
I can't
anyway,
do that.
I'll just rip through mine. Number 1, I have Texas. It's that week 1 game is freaking awesome. By the way, it doesn't matter if it's played at noon, 9 a.m., 7 p.m. It doesn't matter.
I wish it wasn't at noon because I'm going to be at Purdue Ball State and I want to watch that game, but I can't.
I tell you what, man, it is a
first game of the Mariota Mare.
Purdue Ball State and sitting on a couch and watching Texas Ohio State. It's a toss up. I'm going to lean slightly Texas Ohio State.
I can't miss the first game of the Mariota Mare. I just can't.
No, you can't. Anyway, Texas 1, Oregon 2. We were talking about Clemson. I'm Clemson 3. High on Clemson. I mean, high on Clemson. 4, Bama. 5, Penn State. 6, Notre Dame. I didn't know Notre Dame played Boise. That's freaking awesome. 7, Ohio State. A little lower on Ohio State. I don't think Julian saying that quarterback battle taking as long as it did, that's some concern there. So we'll see. 8, I have Georgia. 9, I have Arizona State. And the last 2 spots is really interesting. Is the ACC going to get a second team? That second team would be Miami. Miami to end the year has to go to Pitt. You're talking about Pitt, James? South Florida kids in Miami going to Pitt at the end of November. Pitt's
tough,
Florida.
dude.
I don't like
they're a sleeper. Pitt is a sleeper.
And so Miami, Josh paid this whole thing about Miami, how they don't play. They don't have a bye week. The last 6, their bye week is they play Notre Dame, whatever, 2 more. They play Florida. Then they have a bye week, a game, and then bye week, and that's their 2 bye weeks. So they play 6, 7 straight games to end the year. That's a real thing for Miami. So. So the conversation: does ACC get 2 teams? Does Big Ten get 4? Does SEC get 5? That's kind of the conversation. So 10, I want to go LSU. I'm hearing everything I'm reading is they have major concerns about their O-line, and they hit the portal hard. And so hitting the portal for wide receivers, for example, is much easier than hitting the portal for offense line, defense line, whatever. And we've seen this boom and bust. We saw Florida State boom and then bust, right? So I think I'm a little bit lower on Garrett Nussmeier. I think he's a fine quarterback. I don't think he's a first-round pick. All these guys that have mediocre years and don't go to the NFL, and then all of a sudden they're first-round picks. It just kind of blows my mind a little bit. Drew Aller's kind of the same way. Drew Aller had a fine year last year. Let's see if he can freaking make some big boy throws in games that matter. So let me just run through them because I forgot. So Texas, Oregon, Clemson, Bama, Penn State, Notre Dame, Ohio State, Georgia, Arizona State. So those I think are quote unquote locks. And then at 10, I still lean LSU just because this is a make it or break a year for Brian Kelly. I mean, he's got to get it done back against the wall. And then for 11 for me, so that's 1, 2, 3, that's 4 SEC teams. So here's a debate. Is there a 5th SEC team, or is there going to be a second Big Ten team? Because I've talked myself out of Miami just with that schedule, and I do think Carson Beck's going to be better, by the way. I think Carson Beck, talk about people being slept on. I know he had an awful year last year, but he was the player of the year in the SEC 2 years ago. I'm high on Carson Beck, and Miami kind of dominates the offensive line. That game between Florida and Miami in week 4 might be for a playoff spot. And to answer my own question, I think the committee is going to value the SEC schedule, especially now that they proved they're going to a 9-conference game plus an additional game. They're going to show favor to that. With that being said, I just talked myself back to Miami. I have Miami at 11, just edging out one of either Florida or South Carolina. Again, it's hard for me to pick Florida, man. Florida has not proved it to me, and I love Billy Napier. I think Billy Napier might be a top 5 human being alive. The guys want to go to war for him, and I tell you what. Be on the lookout for Florida's linebacker room. I mean, they are ridiculously stacked. No, they're not going to be talked about, but trust me, Florida's linebacker room is going to be filthy.
I'm on the watch now. I'm on the watch.
Come on, lock in. LIU week 1, 7 o'clock, SEC Network Plus.
Oh, I'm there. I'm watching that. Come on.
Better than Clemson LSU. I'll tell you that much.
I'm totally not watching it.
And then 12, I have Boise. And then in the national championship, I have Texas over Clemson. Like I said, you have to take your lumps to eventually get to the top. Very rarely do you see a team just jet past everything and get to the top nowadays. It's the same thing in the NBA. That's why I didn't pick the Pacers to win the finals, and you could argue they're an injury away from doing so. But in my opinion, you have to take your lumps to get there. Texas took their lumps. They have the guy at quarterback. They have a top 3 coach in the sport. They have studs on the defense, offensive line, and I think this is the year that they do it.
There we go. I love it. 3 different, or no, did you have Texas, Teaster?
I had Texas over LSU.
All right. I like it.
Yeah, so we'll wrap there. I rambled for a little bit too long, but
No, please do.
everyone was high on Florida, and rightfully so. Like Florida's roster
I'm not.
is legit. We'll see.
I'm left over right. I am not right
How
over left.
dare you? That is
I told Tanner this the other day. I told them, I'm like, I'm not big on the year 2 DJ Lagway. I'm not buying into
I'll tell you
it.
what, he's barely practiced. They freaking just wrapped him in bubble wrap and say, "Please be ready." By the time
that's a concern because he's gonna get hit one time. Like I don't.
We'll see. The stuff is there. Like everyone's gonna freak about DJ Lagway's like touchdown numbers, and DJ Lagway got down to the 1 yard line, like off the top of my head 6 times. They just ran it in for. So. We'll see. They got the guy quarterback. They have the best roster they've had since 2019 with Dan Mullen when they would have made the playoffs in an extended year. But yeah, anyway, we'll see. Let's talk a little bit baseball because it's getting to that time of the year. Last time we talked, the Rays were actually good. The Cubs were probably in first place. And since then, the Cubs decided to not make any moves at the trade deadline. And the Brewers went on the best run the sport has seen since the Rays started 13-0.
Bro,
that's what's happened. People want to talk about why do the Cubs suck? Not suck, but why are they doing what they're doing now? I told you guys in March, the Cubs need probably at least 1 or 2 bullpen arms and at least another starting pitcher. And they lost their best pitcher, arguably, and they didn't add proficiently. So that's my view from an outside.
We agree.
Watch the team.
We fully agree, and in fact, I think we might have filmed last time in like May or maybe even early June. No, it was probably May.
No, early June because it was right before the finals.
Okay, cool. And we literally said like the Cubs need to get a bullpen arm and a starting arm. Like we said it, and so it's like there's been no secret. I mean, there's 2 Cubs fans sitting here, and there's a Rays fan sitting here that knew what the Cubs needed to do. But we didn't do it. And it was like it's so how many more times do we have to go through this as Cubs fans or just Chicago fans where we see this money? It's like we're all invested and we see all the money in our account, but yet we just don't spend it. So it's really frustrating. You also have to just tip your cap sometimes to teams that go on a hot streak. I mean, the Cubs are still 18 games over 500 or something like that, and they're 7 games back. Like it's insane. Like and I have fond memories of the same exact thing happening. I guess the Milwaukee Brewers have just a bunch of no-name dudes who come out here and hoop. Like I'm so sick and tired of watching.
They're the Rays. I mean, literally, they're the Rays of the National League.
Like they got 5'7" second basemen hitting 460-foot home runs, and it's like, yeah, that's not happening.
Into a 20-mile-per-hour wind.
Juice, man.
That doesn't make sense. Like Tanner was on fire about like he thought they were hacking PitchCom. Like Andrew Vaughn just resurrected.
You guys should see the paragraph James and I got how Tanner was committed that the Brewers were cheating.
Well, yeah. Over a 2-month span, whenever you need a 2-run home run to take a 1-run lead in the bottom of the 8th, and you hit that home run every single night to go on a 28-game win streak, you're probably cheating. Like, I mean, it's the Brewers. Well, I still think they might be cheating.
They were 52-16 since like however long that is. Like that's incredible. I don't care that they won 13 in a row. They were 52-16.
That's insane.
Like,
to your point, James, about the Cubs, I really don't have complaints with their pitching right now because it's not their pitching is not the reason they're losing. Their bullpen has one of the best ERAs in MLB since the beginning of June. Their starting pitching right now, I feel very comfortable with 3 starters being able to pitch in the playoffs. I don't know about you, but I'm comfortable with Shota, Boyd, and Cade Horton's a star. Cade Horton is a superstar. Now, it's that 4th pitcher on that 4th day when they're going to need it if they get to a division series where it's like that's where it gets iffy. Because personally, I don't trust Jameson Taillon. And then Soroka, how is he going to look when he comes back from injury? And to your point about the trade deadline, I was frustrated initially with not getting more, but I think that it was such a low like seller's market this year that like the price tag was simply too high. Because if you give up Owen Casey, the Cubs, like he might save their season if we're being honest, because we know Kyle Tucker even he might play the rest of the year, but that hand injury is, I mean, he's done. He might play, but he's done, if that makes sense. Like Kyle Tucker will not impact again in 2025. I hope I'm wrong, but he just won't. Because if we're being honest, he should have gone on the IL immediately with a hairline fracture and your power hand as a lefty. But whatever, that's an organizational failure right there. But no, I think Owen Casey is going to end up being a big piece down the stretch, and I'm glad they didn't give him up because if Owen Casey keeps getting clutch hits and playing defense this way and just coming up in big spots, big moments, then Kyle Tucker, I mean, go sit on the bench, Kyle Tucker, because he sucks, and it was blasphemous to not go on the IL when you have a hairline fracture in the most important hand as a left-handed hitter. I mean, that was just so dumb. I mean, it was the stupidest thing ever. He would be full strength if he went on the IL right now. If he went on the IL when he should have.
We'll have him by October. We're fine.
It doesn't matter. That injury gets worse over time. Like you can't just play through it, and you can't just put him on the IL and then call him up game one of the wild card series. Hey, Kyle Tucker, welcome back. You just can't do that. Like Kyle Tucker just screwed over the Cubs because he was selfish and he wants his $500 million.
Boy.
And as a result, he has lost probably $200 million. So congrats, Kyle Tucker. You screwed the Cubs. You screwed yourself. You're an idiot, Kyle Tucker.
Kyle Tucker is a Tampa kid. I'll stand up for him. He went to Plant High School 30 minutes from my house. So he's coming home. Come on, he's coming home.
Yeah, okay. I can think of 29 other teams.
Hey, 28. The White Sox aren't getting them. Anyway.
They have a better chance.
So one thing I want to focus on is how much better the National League is than the American League. Like, it's so like vast. Like, the Blue Jays have the best record in the American League. I'm so unbelievably low on the Blue Jays. I don't know if there's a person on the planet Earth that is lower on the Blue Jays than I am. And that's from Bo Bichette's maybe biggest fan, which is Jonathan Shields. And you look like the second best team, like you probably lean Astros. You know, they have maybe the best 1-2 in baseball with Framber and Hunter Brown, even though Framber's kind of gotten lit up recently a few games. You go to number 3, and it's like, okay, the third best team is probably the Yankees. And then you look at the Mariners, who I thought had the best deadline, who I think have the best starting rotation in baseball. They've lost like a million games in a row now. And you just look, it's like, man, like who's coming out of the American League? And if I'm being honest with you, I don't know. Like maybe I'd lean Houston. Like I keep saying like I don't know. The American League just baffles me a little bit because there's a time where the Rays were like the best team in the American League, and now they're like 19 games under 500. And then you go to the National League, and I'm looking at what the Brewers are doing, and I think that's really cool. You know what teams I would take against the Brewers in a 7-game series? The Dodgers are a team I'd take over the Brewers in a 7-game series. The Padres are a team I'd take over the Brewers in a 7-game series. Depending on what Kyle Tucker does with his health, I would probably take the Cubs in a 7-game series.
Oh, I'm taking the Cubs for sure.
I would take probably the Mets in a 7-game series, even though the Mets can't win consistently, and I don't love the rotation. I'm talking about guys that can have proven it in October. It is a different beast hitting in October. It's just different than hitting in Minute Maid Park in game 102 on a Saturday afternoon in the first week of August. Like, so, and that's not, I'm not saying like, oh, the Brewers can't make the World Series. I'm saying that I don't think it's a slam dunk. And I'm not even saying that people are saying it's a slam dunk, but normally when you go 56-12 over a stretch, you're going to be the favorite. And I think there's two teams in the same division. Like, I think the Dodgers and Padres, when it gets down to it, could be playing in the NLCS if the bracket kind of breaks right. But yeah, I mean, that's the thing that's most polarizing to me. I think 4 of the 5 best teams in baseball are in the National League.
Yeah, I would agree with that. And I kind of had 2 hot takes I wanted to say outside of the Cubs coming into this. One of them's not really hot. I think the Reds are going to get that last wild card spot. The Mets they are so dysfunctional right now. The Reds have a good pitching staff.
Really good.
Down the stretch, I'm going to trust the arms of the Reds, and I think they're going to get that last playoff spot. The NL Central is the best division in baseball. I mean, you got 2 high-level teams. I think the Cubs maybe have the 3rd or 4th best record in baseball. I might be wrong, but you got the Brewers, the Cubs, and then the Reds, who are going to be a wild card team, in my opinion. And then my second hot take, you mentioned who's coming out of the AL. If the Red Sox get in a wild card spot, that pitching staff is going to be very tough to beat in a playoff series. So I really like the Red Sox chances of making it deep in the postseason, maybe even winning the AL if they get that if they get in a wild card spot. But
I don't trust enough of their bats. I've watched a lot of the Red Sox being in the division with the Rays. They're interesting. Like they probably like Garrett Crochet. There's only 2 other people in baseball I really want more starting game 1. One of them happens to be Tarek Skubal.
Yeah.
So that's the advantage the Tigers have, who we haven't even talked about, is if the Tigers play in a 5-game series, Skubal is pitching 2 of those. That's like basically 2 wins with how good he is. But we talk about lineup issues. Like Riley Green has gone ghost in the second half after he went nuclear in the first. So are we really trusting Spencer Torkelson in big at bats in the postseason?
You guys watched into that Astros Detroit game where it was a walk-off walk.
Yeah.
What a horrible way to lose baseball.
Oh, it's just like the AL is going to be a mystery. Like I would bet money that the person that comes out of the AL is a wild card team. If it's not a wild card team, it's going to be the Astros. Because I was unbelievably high on the Mariners before they lost 5 in a row. I was saying kind of ridiculous things about the Mariners because, don't let Randy get to October. Apparently, when Randy played the Rays, he went like 9 for 14 with 7 steals. So, I
already know what's happening. I already know who's in the World Series, and I already know who won the World Series. So the Phillies are going to beat the Yankees in the World Series.
Yeah, I mean, we went this whole time without even talking about the Phillies. Who, is there a team that you trust more in the NL right now than the Phillies?
There's not a city. There's not a team. Nothing that I trust more than the Philadelphia Phillies.
I think the Chicago Cubs I'm going to trust out of the National League a little bit more because they're playing their bad baseball now, and I think they're going to heat up early to mid-September and be guns blazing in the playoffs.
I would love nothing.
That is 100% optimism, and I can't.
I would love nothing.
I just hope Zach Wheeler's okay. You never mess around with the blood clot, and that's always freaky. But hopefully, it's good news on him. But they went out and got Tanner. Who's the guy from Miami, the lefty? Lori something.
Jesus Luzardo.
Yeah, Jesus Luzardo. Like
he's got a May spotlight card that's nasty.
Yeah, he does. Shout out the show. So does Edward Cabrera has an August spotlight card, by the way. Not going to my rotation. But anyway, he's your 4th starter for the Phillies. Like you talk about rotations, pitching wins in October. And Yohan Duran, who's the best bullpen guy in the game, him and Munoz from Seattle, like. I don't know. I said the Padres and Dodgers are the 2 best teams. It's because if you get to the 5th inning against the Padres, they can throw the 4 best relief. Like
it's
you can go Jason Adam, Mason Miller, Suarez. That's filth. That's filth, and I'm forgetting a guy. But anyway, that was our baseball talk. We'll have more as we get toward October because we're going to try to go once a week going forward. If we miss a week here or there, it's because we're busy. We're busy people in busy times of our lives. But we're fairly committed to going once a week now that there's a bunch of content to talk about. Yes, Tanner?
I am 110% committed to going once a week.
We're back. So, 2 clap for that. But also leave a like, comment, and subscribe. And we will see you guys next week.
See ya.
Peace.